Now, in Hebrew reckoning, or should I say biblical reckoning, the day starts at sundown, okay? So Friday, sundown actually begins the Sabbath. From Friday sundown until Saturday sundown, the night always precedes the day portion of the day. And if you're wondering where that kind of thinking comes from, look at Genesis 1. Now, so anyway, so all the days of the week, by the way, are accounted for in the commandment. 6 days you shall labor, but the seventh is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. So all the days of the week are accounted for. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we have a 7-day week. There is no reason in the world to have a 7-day week other than because the Bible set it up. Now, we count our days based upon astrological movements of bodies. The day, of course, is built with one revolution of the earth. The year, or actually let me get to the month, is built from the moon revolving around the earth one time. The year, of course, comes from our planet circling the sun once. So that's how the reckoning or the reasoning comes to measure a day, a month, or a year. But a week is found nowhere in nature. It comes only and strictly from the Bible. Now, based upon that, already we should be questioning: are we allowed to pick our own day and call it the Sabbath? Even though it's called the Sabbath of the Lord thy God, okay, we can pick our own Sabbath, that God doesn't care what day we observe as long as it's 1 day in 7, as I've heard so many say. Well, as I mentioned before, God is very specific on things. If you want to see some examples of how specific and detailed God can be, let me hit you with a couple of them just real quick. You'll know what I mean, and I'll let you look them up in your own time. But notice in Genesis 6:15 the exact measurements that God gave to Noah for the building of the ark. Okay? He didn't just leave it up to Noah to build it any old way he wanted to. He was very specific. Build it this length by this width by this breadth. I mean, nailed it. Okay? Same thing is true with the Ark of the Covenant and the earthly sanctuary. You can find the details of that given starting in Exodus 25, going all the way to Exodus 36. You will find precise things, precise detailed instructions on how to build these things, because God is concerned with detail and precision. And same thing with even the Passover lamb. God again left very strict instructions on how the lamb was to be prepared, what to do even before the lamb was prepared, how to prepare it, how to eat it, how to cook it, the whole thing. Okay? Let me put some other questions to you, and that follow along the same logic. I'm sure many of you will remember the story of the wall of Jericho. Now, do you think that great wall of Jericho would have toppled over if the children of Israel had only marched around it 6 times, or did it take the full 7th before the blessing was received, as God instructed? Did Naaman, for instance, when he was instructed by the prophet to go wash in the river Jordan to get rid of his leprosy, did he wash once, twice, 6 times before the blessing was received? No. He had to do it 7 times in order to follow the commandment that God had given through the prophet. Okay? He didn't leave it up to Naaman to choose how many times Naaman should wash. He didn't leave it up to the children of Israel on how many times they got to march around Jericho. Okay? God preset it. He expects you to follow it. Okay? So, rather than inventing reasons for disobedience, I think it's best to just stick with what God says. Another verse in Isaiah, this is Isaiah 58, verses 13 and 14, which we opened with actually, is, again, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day. Notice, it's God's holy day, okay? It's not the Jewish holy day. It is not the Gentiles' holy day. It's God's holy day. If we attach ourselves to God, He expects us to follow what he says. He expects us to keep his day. Sabbath is the Lord's day. Okay? I'm going to get into a deep discussion on that in a future video in this series about which day the actual Lord's day is. So I don't want to burden this video with that information. But it's just important to know who claims the day. God does. That's why Jesus said that he was Lord of the Sabbath day. Now, I'm not alone in this assertion. Okay, there's a lot of Christian scholars out there that have come to the same conclusion, even though some of them continue to keep Sunday, which I'm frankly baffled on. But you know, contrary to what they know to be true, they decided to do what was, I guess, politically correct. The book, the Bible talks about that in James chapter 1, verse 25. But whosoever looketh into the perfect law of liberty, that's the commandments, and continueth therein, he being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. Now, let me get to some quotes here from various denominations of different theologians and commentaries, and I'm going to touch upon at least one ancient source that kind of talks about when the seventh-day Sabbath is. First one I'm going to go to is an Episcopalian by the name of Philip Carrington. He is quoted as saying this in the Toronto Daily Star on October 26 of 1949. He says, "The Bible commandment says, on the seventh day thou shalt rest. That is Saturday. Nowhere in the Bible is it laid down that worship should be done on Sunday." I have to agree with Mr. Carrington on this, or should I say Archbishop Carrington. Also, and I've quoted Matthew Henry on this before, but it stands to reason to quote him again because of the way he ends this particular quote. He says in his book, The Concise Commentary on the Whole Bible, "The form of the fourth commandment, remember, shows that it was not now first given, but was known by the people before." Now, we've mentioned that and talked about that in an earlier video, but it's the second part that I want to focus on. He says, the advantages from the due keeping of this holy day, notice that's singular, were it only to the health and happiness of mankind, with the time it affords for taking care of the soul, show the excellency of this commandment. The day is blessed, singular. Men are blessed by it, the genuine article, and in it, the genuine article. Okay? John Law, who wrote A Course in Religion for Catholic High Schools and Academies, is quoted as saying, "If we consulted the Bible only, we should still have to keep holy the Sabbath day. That is, Saturday." See, there's no confusion here as to which day the seventh day is. Everybody out there really seems to know it. Anyone who's actually studied the scriptures seems to know it. Anyone who has studied this topic whatsoever seems to know it. I'm astounded how many Christians claim they don't know it, even though they're holding the same exact Bible that I hold. I don't use any specialized Bibles. Matter of fact, I use a whole slew of different Bibles. You'll see most of the times I'm quoting from the King James Version. I've got about 30 Bibles in my library, so I cross-reference them regularly. And I'm still astounded how people don't know which day the Sabbath is. You can tell them seventh day, and they'll be like, "Well, I don't see the word Saturday anywhere in my Bible." Well, then I would suggest they pick up a dictionary. Anyway, let me go on. There's an Egyptian manuscript that was found back. I guess the estimates, I guess, are that it was written somewhere between 200 and 250 A.D.